Okay, we are live. Hi everyone, and welcome to the Omakase Show webinar series. My name is Oena or Lola. I am the co-host and curator of this series. Just to tell you a little bit about the Omakase Show is a show we have weekly Twitter spaces where I co-host with our co-founder Tinak. We are also launching our podcast, so yeah, keep tuned. Stay tuned because it will be live super soon. It is called Chef's Cut. It will be co-hosted by Tinak and Jay Funk, basically our two co-founders. And so you are watching our webinar series where I am the host and also the curator. And what we do is basically we invite a lot of talented artists to the show so they can tell us about their journey, about their artworks. And so I hope you will enjoy this webinar. And today we have Rose with us. Just to tell a little bit backstory, we had this open call for our community, for our artists, and there was a chance to participate in it, to be invited as a speaker to our webinar. And we were discussing it with Tinak, and we understood that Rose was definitely the artist we really wanted to showcase. But we had a lot of talented artists, but Rose really stand up. And I'm just pulling up some of her artworks, and yeah, I'm going to Rose. Rose, thank you so much for joining us. I know your time is quite limited, and yeah, thank you so much for making it. So, can you tell us a little bit about yourself? Where are you from? Where are you based? And basically, how you got into this space?
Yes, thank you so much, Lola. I'm so excited to be here. I'm part of the Omakase show family. I've been tracking just all the great things that you and the team have been doing. Hello, I'm Rose Jade. I am a watercolor-based artist. I am in California in the United States. I am actually a mom of two, a teen and a toddler. They are my inspiration and my purpose, and I speak about them often. I actually feel like I create for them. In the way to communicate as a mom, to inspire, to just implant some great memories, and just to showcase that you can be many things in life. It was actually the world of Web3 that encouraged me to become an artist. And every time I say that I'm an artist, it actually throws me off a little bit. So I'm in my mid-40s. And for more than 4 decades, I had considered myself artistic or crafty, but it wasn't until 2022 with NFTs and Web3 that I thought, oh, let me just create some art for the public. I have always created it for personal reasons, whether it's my wedding invitations or, Mother's Day cards or artwork to give within my family or friends. But Web3 really kind of provided the platform and medium to be able to create art, mint it. I think the provenance of having it on the blockchain is something very special to me, because oftentimes we create art, you might give it to one person or share it in one specific aspect, but I think just having it out there for all of eternity, or at least for however long the blockchain will exist, is amazing. So my actual day job is in marketing strategy. I work in high tech. And for me, it's been actually also another area of exploration for me as a marketer, to understand and observe, how does one market art? How does one market a Web3 project? And to compare and contrast how that actually can work with some of the playbooks we've had in Web2, and how it doesn't work, because this is such a different type of space.
Thank you so much. Sounds amazing. And so this is quite a special question. We ask it frequently. What's your favorite type of cuisine and food?
Yes, I love this question. I think it's morphed over time. Right now, my favorite food, I would say, is Japanese. Um, I think for my, especially my kids, to explore eating different cuisines, Japanese for some reason just really resonates with them. So we've actually been trying to make our own ramen, in terms of cooking broth and making our own, kind of grilling the barbecue meat on the side. So I think I love the process and care of Japanese cuisine. So yeah, that's my current favorite right now.
Lovely. And so I'm pulling up your artworks. And so basically, those are watercolors,
That's
and it's quite meditative to work with watercolors. Oh yeah, Tinak is here saying Roman is a
yay.
good choice. I know it's like crazy wait for Tinak right now, but
Oh,
yeah, thank you for joining. And so it is about watercolors. And can you tell us a little bit about this creative process? So how you turn it into from physical artwork, how you add digital components, and in general how it works.
yes, for sure. So watercolor is, I mean, really basic. It's a watercolor palette or tubes of color with water as I blend to thin out, and it's on paper. So I'll create purely on watercolor and paper, let it dry, let it set, and just learn to like take a picture, like a photo of it, and then from there, probably crop, adjust the lighting. I try not to apply any filters, frankly, just to preserve the actual painting. The whole point of me is paint it so that that becomes the art piece. So yeah, my process is pretty simple: paint, take a photo, go into do a little bit of post production, and really it's about capturing like the right parts of the painting. And this is the beauty of, I would say, NFTs and doing an art collection is sometimes I'll paint a huge piece and I'm like, oh, it's not that great. And I have to have that discerning eye, especially if you're going to mint. I want to create a lot and then like be really mindful of my curation process. And the curation process is not just in choosing the painting, it's also the parts of the painting that I feel are like, okay, that captured the essence. And so most times it's the full painting, but I've also found that, oh, I can actually crop in to a certain section where I'm like, that's the sweet spot. And so that's part of the fun of the development of this. And oftentimes with just my pure watercolor paintings, that's it. So post prod, adjust lighting, whatnot, crop it if I need to, or at least adjust the sizing, and then I mint. So pretty straightforward process in terms of just my usual flow. And then I can also speak to just with the advent of AI, especially in 2023, I was just trying to think through like, oh, I don't want to be that old school artist that is just so afraid of AI, especially since this is so new to me. Like I felt very protective of this newly found craft or skill that I'm now trying to articulate in painting. And so it's like, wow, will AI like replace me? Like all of a sudden, I've only had like what 2 years under my belt, and then AI comes about. But I decided to not be afraid and to embrace it. And so at the start of 2023, I actually started a collection called 13, where the 13th of every month, it's going to be almost like my journal and diary of how I'm going to try to use AI. And so initial one for January 13th was where like, let me just use AI for inspiration. Keyword, text prompt, just to kind of see like what can spark some ideas. And then throughout that series on a monthly basis, I grew my skill sets with AI. So I used AI to um, create Python code. I'm not a developer. So I would use ChatGPT and say, I need a glitch code that I can apply to my painting. And then from the stills of my painting with the glitch code, I want to then combine it so that I can animate it. So then it's like a living watercolor painting of sorts. So yeah, my journey with, I think my art became more complicated where it's not just painting and then minting. It became painting, post prod, what else I want to do with it with the help of AI. And I'll confess, Lola, there was a point in time where I spent way too much time on the AI side afterwards than I actually did in planning and painting. And I think as an artist, that didn't feel, I guess, quite right for me. Like I felt like I was forcing it, if that makes sense. Because I just would spend like 2 or 3 times the amount of time on the AI coding front and post prod. And maybe as for other artists, that's what they do. But for myself, I just felt like, oh, I don't know if I'm sticking to like that authentic I guess, intent that I had for a painting? And am I just changing it up way too much with AI?
I think it's quite natural when you're embracing a new medium. You kind of like you switch this side of things. You have to spend a lot of time to actually like deep into it. And I think, as you mentioned, the I would say it's the time to show the video you prepared. Do you
Okay.
agree? Yeah.
Yes, yes. And then let me just switch my avatar. So part of my AI journey was this is my usual avatar. This is actually an avatar I had painted for myself with the intention of it being an avatar. And since my name is Rose Jade, I was very proud of this piece because I'm actually an abstract painter. So I don't paint literally. And so for me to paint this and use it as my PFP was actually a huge milestone. As part of my AI journey, I created an AI avatar. And so let me switch my avatar here. So this is me as another form of Rose Jade in Web3. And with this avatar, I had realized like there's many things you can do with it. So I was playing around with AI tools. And let me just share with you this video where it's this avatar speaking with the help of AI, introducing an art piece of mine. And so, yeah, we can share that. Let me share from scratch. I'm going to reload it real quick.
Oh, okay. Yeah, sure.
Thank you.
Hello world, I'm Rose Jade. I feel lucky to be an artist and a creator amidst the emergence of AI tools. I can't wait to unveil my first AI collab artwork for my timed edition, Ascent. It is an AI-generated video of my watercolor painting, Vista. I painted a dream, and then AI dreamt of me painting.
And I would love to share that piece while we speak. It doesn't have any audio.
Amazing. I'm pulling it up. Oh, yeah. Wow.
So this is one full painting where I kind of took certain just cropped images of it, and with tools like Runway ML, you can piece together your images and it will do the frame interpolation. So just to share out, I am all about sharing the tools and processes, because if Rose can do it, if I could fiddle with it. So this is the main painting. And so it was kind of just to articulate just how one can leverage your work and just dabble, and you'll get really great results. So because my collection 13 was just a diary of sorts, I felt very free to just try it out. This was my very first piece, so I was quite pleased of like how it turned out. But super fun to kind of just showcase the movement.
Basically, if I understood it, it's a couple of watercolor artworks that AI made dynamic, or
Oh,
not.
yeah. Let me skip to this very end part,
Mhm.
Lola, and just pause. Oh, I keep losing it. Here we go. Oh, it's too fast. Okay, will it stay there? Okay, so that was my painting. Sorry, I shouldn't touch it. This was my painting. And so basically I took cropped images of sections of this painting, and then Runway ML, you can just load up as many images as you want and it'll stitch it together and transition. So I really, aside from learning Runway ML, I really didn't do much above and beyond with that tool and AI. It was just a great way for me to discover something that can enable me to still leverage my true painting. It is not an AI painted or painting at all. It's still my original artwork. It was just AI assisted in terms of the animation of the painting.
Thank you so much. Okay, that makes it clear. And
Mhm.
so I know you also made your debut NFT collection, which was called Rose Jade Catalyst. And
Yes.
can you tell us a little bit about it? How does it feel to create a collection? And maybe you had some either like what would be your tips based on this experience, right? For any artist out there who yet hadn't made their own collection.
Yeah, thank you for that. This was a very unique circumstance where I really wasn't intending on minting a collection. Like I've created painting and art, but not really with that particular intent. I was part of a community called B Card, kind of like for business card, but just B Card. And the whole spirit of this was networking. And we actually had an on cyber art shop. And so the curator encouraged us as communities, like, let's just do an art shop. We have a lot of different artists or aspiring artists. The best thing that we can do is create a space for the artist just to kind of own a frame. And you can mint whatever you want. You can change it out if you like, but typically, let's price it all low. I did zero point 0.1 ETH during that time. That seemed really low. So zero point 0.1 ETH, had one frame. And for me, it was just like, well, let me mint as I go. If I sell the piece, I'll create another and I'll hang it and sell it again. This community was amazingly supportive, and I just would mint one piece and it would sell within a few days. And it was like, for me, like, wow, like this, of course, you feed off that energy and I go back to painting a new piece. And so this collection literally is almost a reflection of like the transactions, because as they were sold, I would mint the next piece. Towards the end, I had just a body of work that I thought, I'm proud. Sales are slow. That's okay. And I think as an artist, oftentimes you have to mint and create just, I think, for your own intention and purpose, and know that the sale might not come. Like I've had a painting that was out there for about a year and it finally sold, right? And for me, it was just like, I mint what I love. And I think that's the best advice I could give anybody is, create a contract on whatever chain you want. And I think in the spirit of minting for what you love, have a collection that can serve that purpose to kind of almost like fulfill the needs of your soul. For a collection or a drop where it's maybe smaller and you really want to market it, have a separate collection to do that. Because I think any mint or drop becomes almost like an experiment and a test of who you can attract, what really resonates out there. But I feel like when I have certain, I guess, collections that are like the safe space for me, of like, that's okay, I'm going to mint it because I had committed to something. I actually have another collection called Pain, kind of like window pane. And that was more like just a glimpse of my work. And so I would mint and I would burn. So mint it out there, see if it works. If it doesn't, I burn. And for that collection, I'm so happy I kind of set up those rules for myself to allow myself to kind of control that collection however I see fit. And so I sold a few pieces, but I burned plenty. But I think it's in that moment in time of like, that collection is purpose built for that. But my catalyst one, and so appropriately named now I look back, was literally a catalyst for my art experience and journey here, because I minted one piece, had that momentum as somebody in the community had bought it, and then I would mint the next. And I would say I had two very proud moments from the Catalyst collection, Lola. I would say the first one was when a perfect stranger bought my work. So outside the community, because of course, when you're in a community and we're supporting each other, that's wonderful. But I think it's also like very awe-inspiring when someone you don't know just connected with you with your art piece. And so my artwork named Steel from that collection is one of them. And then my other proud moment, if I could share around my Catalyst collection, was I have a brother who's in the space who's very supportive. We're like best friends. And he said, I'm not going to buy any of your work until after you have 10 sales. Because he's like, I could totally buy your work to support you, but I'm not, So he says, you're legit once you have 10 sales. So from I think, validation point for someone that I really respect, I was like, oh, thank you for doing that for me. Because I don't want your encouraging or like pity sale in any way. I really want him to be proud of what I've accomplished. So he actually has a piece of mine. And for my Rose Jade Catalyst collection, I believe it's 28 pieces. I think I've gifted 3 different artworks. And I think that's also for artists, we have art at our fingertips. So you can use it as an expression of appreciation. You can use it as an expression of my art is out there for the world to buy, or just art for the world to see. So I'm glad to have sprinkled in a couple of pieces in that Catalyst collection as gifts as well to the community.
I love this story. Thank you so much for sharing this like very beginning of your sales creation. And so for the webinar you shared, you have Asian heritage, Asian background and genes. And I know that Asian culture also inspires you in a way. So can you tell us how in general it inspired you when you create art? And I'm pulling back again your artworks.
Oh, thank you so much. Yes, so my heritage collection is called Interlace, and I am of Vietnamese descent. I am actually Vietnamese American, born here, and had only a chance once to go back to Vietnam to visit. And for me, growing up in America as Asian American, Vietnamese American, for a long while, we were very encouraged, I would say, to just assimilate and kind of embrace that we are American. And I totally did that. I think as I matured and grew older, and especially after I had kids, I realized like there's so many aspects of her culture I really want to carry forward, especially for my daughters. And so, again, thankful to this journey of Web3 and art created for public. I think just I am anonymous and not doxxed in Web3. So I think that encourages this moment of just creating whatever you want and put it out there. And so the Heritage Collection is a reflection of, I would say, different aspects of my life where dual identity can merge and bloom and kind of come together in a nice way. So I would say that my heritage is very a big part of how I create. For a while, Lola, I didn't realize that until I kept painting and like I would share with my mom and she would comment and reflect like, oh yeah, that reminds me of this. And it could have been an older painting that we might have had hung in our wall. And I'm like, oh yeah, I didn't realize I took inspiration from that. It just kind of like entered subconsciously. And of course, I look up to my mom so much. That's so much of her like favorite art and like really traditional art, I'd say, influenced me. So I don't mean to be leaning into like the floral kind of nature inspired all the time, but literally my mind goes there. And my heritage collection is actually like a reflection of that, of like, yes, there are lines that I drew within my heritage collection that I can bring up here, a specific piece, if I could share here with you all. So my heritage collection right now is just 4 different pieces with the intention of growing this over time, almost like a diary and a reflection, which is pretty fun because it's not meant to be too, like, I guess, serious. I think for me, as a heritage collection is just, again, a reflection, and that artwork out there hopefully will connect with somebody. But really glad to be able to showcase pieces that are really purposeful in my way of like communicating how I've like resolved some of these aspects. Sorry, Lola, I'm just wondering for the share here. Pulling
No
it
worries,
up.
no worries. Yeah.
All right. Oh, I might be able to share a video, but maybe I can even just share screen for a second.
Sure.
Okay. All right, so this is my piece. I can make it bigger.
Yeah, it's up here. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So again, from my reflection of just like dual identity, the lines that I had created in the background there are almost like my stages of life, if you will. And so some of that is also to confirm just like there's an aspect of you as a person who might have more than one cultural identity. I think just the way that we resolve that and accept it and not push it away over time, that journey is something that I want to reflect. And I think it's a beautiful thing. I think embracing both sides and not shunning one or the other, or not thinking that you have to give up one for the other, either way. And I had a chance to travel to Vietnam, like I had mentioned, just one time. It was very eye-opening to see. And some of that is in terms of like the cultural duality is reversed, where I stick out like a sore thumb because I am Vietnamese American. Like my accent is not perfect. I'm probably a little bit taller. I carry myself a little bit different. And after that visit as well, it's like, wow, there's so many different elements to the culture that I actually do want to go back and visit and be more immersed in that. I have it from my family side, but of course from travel and whatnot, one can learn so much when you're actually in different countries. And for Vietnam, of course, it's a special one for me.
It definitely is. And so I'm looking at this piece, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but what I have in my mind is that we have like seasons like winter, fall, spring, summer. In a way, this is how I've been thinking about it. I don't know.
Yeah, I think the lines represent like different moments in time and just kind of the crossover and transition. So yeah, I think that's very much how I was trying to communicate, Lola.
Wow. Okay. Good for me.
Yes.
And so I want to go to like the final part of our webinar, and you've been extremely honest about your beginnings, about how you started this journey, how you started your first sales, found your community, how you proceed with marketing. I know it's super new. It's quite tough because it's not only entering Web3, it's also first time positioning yourself as an artist who is like a commercial artist also. And so basically, I feel like all of this gives you an extremely valuable knowledge. And so what would your tips would be for emerging artists who are trying to join the Web3 space? And in a way, I think maybe some marketing tips that you observed that made your journey quite easier when you started.
Yeah, thank you. I think for emerging artists and tips, I feel like from a marketing perspective, it's about really grounding yourself in the story you want to tell. So marketing, I think, sometimes has a bad rap in terms of you're trying to convince people and it's flashy and shiny. And the essence of marketing is actually storytelling. So really figure out your audience and what you want to say. And I think in a safe space, you should really know that before you create anything. I think especially, we share art in Web3 so much on X, and it's such a hype cycle that you kind of get caught up of like who's getting a lot of attention, a lot of followership. And I feel like it's hard to do, but I have to tell myself as well, you got to put on your earmuffs and blinders and just go into your studio, virtual studio, if that might be, just to be able to create. Um, the premise of like your art will attract everybody, I would say, is a foolish one. Especially like for my own art, as you can tell, watercolor. It is not digital, it's not AI, it's not pixel. It's a very specific aesthetic, and so I have to tell myself, literally, still remind myself, as a humbled artist, that your art is not for everybody. And people connecting with art in different ways. Like the sale is not like the end game, I would say. I think just finding people that can connect with your art, to have a moment to reflect on your art. If someone sees my art and I can stop them in their tracks just for a moment, for them to like, oh, that looks kind of cool. Like, oh, this kind of speaks to me. For me, that's a win. And I would say that, just to recognize I am not a full-time artist. Like I don't have to have sales for my livelihood. I am full-time as a marketing strategist in Web2. So I feel like I have both the advantage of that, but also a disadvantage that I don't have art, or the possibility of creating art all day, every day as my full time. But because I don't have that financial pressure, I can say those things. So I want to make sure I am empathetic to those that are full time in the space where the sale does matter. I am very new in my journey still, I feel. So I feel like I still have a little bit of that naiveness of like the pure art form and just like my intention for that. But it is mine and I own it in terms of like what I want, what I hope for with folks that come across my art so far. But from a marketing perspective, and I would say for marketing yourself as an artist and then marketing your collection are two different things. Marketing yourself as an artist, knowing your audience, who you really, what your aesthetic, what your goals are, those things. I think knowing that real clear up front. And then marketing for a collection is where, for that moment in time, how do you want to story tell and really articulate how this particular collection is relevant to you, but then also to the space. I think, this vast space of digital art, how does your work contribute to that? I really do feel like everybody has their own unique point of view and value that they can add to the space. I think it's just sometimes we're really shy about saying why and what the inspiration was. So hope that a lot more artists can just go out there and mint. I think minting now on L1 and L2 chains, especially from a cost perspective, that barrier isn't there anymore. When I started, I was only minting on ETH. I've expanded to Base, as well as Solana and others. And there's so many different marketplaces that have like easy minting contracts out there for you. So you don't have to learn like, how do I mint on a specific contract? Like with Manifold, it's much more complicated versus minting on the marketplace contracts like what is it, Foundation. I mean, there's so many out there now that have such great tools for creators.
This is actually a nice question. A lot of artists, newcomers, are struggling on this like choice where to mint, how to mint. And so, based on your experience, what were the friendliest chain ever for the newcomers?
Friendliest chain? I would say for base for sure. I think it's friendliest in terms of like ease of use. I'll say foundation has also enabled just a really smooth experience. I typically use foundation for ETH, but I believe they've extended to different chains as well. So yeah, I think the choices for artists now are there's just so many. I think the decision on which chain though to mint on, I think is an important one. For me with my art, again, I'm minting it really for the provenance and just making sure that it's there forever. So I am a little bit more biased towards like L1s, like Ethereum. I haven't minted a real collection yet on Bitcoin yet. So, just thinking through ETH and BTC, those ones, and then a little bit on Base and Solana just to kind of experiment. But again, because I'm part time, it's hard for me to get traction by not spending that much time into it. But I've seen friends do really well, especially on Base right now. And if you're using Farcaster or Warpcast, just the minting in frame just to get your work out there. So again, the strategy around a paid mint versus a free mint and why you might want to do one or the other for a certain period of time. There's like so much like thoughtfulness and strategy and savviness as an artist you actually have to consider. So my encouragement is just like go slow. I don't think there is a right answer, frankly. I think everyone has to kind of like steady up, make their decisions, and just go with it, and know that just be reassured that you do know best, because everything is a test and an experiment, anyways, in this space.
Thank you so much. A little bit improvising right now, but so I started to understand that you combine your creating art just part-time. You also have a full-time job in Web2 marketing, and you also have 2 kids. So what I was thinking about is basically to get some quite like a time management tips in a way, right? How do you manage all of this?
Oh, yes. I mean, I think for me, of course, Web2 job, my responsibility, but it's actually quite flexible. I happen to be working remotely for this role. I actually have a very large team that I manage as well. So I think the practice of like delegation and time management is something that I've had a lot of experience in. For my Web3 work in painting, oftentimes that's nighttime. Like we talk about degen hours, Lola, in Web3. My degen hours typically are around art and painting and curating and just, figuring out what next for that. I actually have a part-time Web3 job, Lola. I hadn't mentioned to you, but I actually am marketing manager for the MGXS studio. MGXS is an artist who had launched a art collection back in 2022. I was an OG holder and community member, and back in, gosh, it was just October of 2022, I had joined as a part-time marketing manager. So I manage their Twitter handle, I create content for them, and that's also part of my degen hours. Family takes precedent. Of course, kids are in school and all that. They actually watch me do my painting and curating. Like they're next to me all the time. Even as I'm working on the MGXS studio work and project, they know of it too. And they know of the robots that I try to market for and create art for. So yeah, it's one of those things where in the beginning, it was so addictive, Lola, that you just made time. And I would tell folks, like, I think it's kind of my superpower where I could like bend time and stretch it to however I pleased, because it just really felt like anything that you put out there, you would get such quick feedback and input in Web3. And so I feel like that value cycle of just input and reaction and support was so amazing that I think I just found time and space. Like it's my lunch hour, I'll join a space, it's, wherever it is, I could try to do it. But there was a time where I think I went a little overboard. And so a lot of us, I think in this space know that, oh, you got to take a time out to go touch grass. For me, go touch paint and just log off for a bit.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for sharing this routine. It's quite amazing. And I feel like a lot of people in Web3 have this like superpower to combine it, to do their full-time job, and Web3 too. I met a guy, he's also an active, he take an active part in our community. His name is Bronjis. And so he's also artifact creator. And so he was like extremely active. He was always talkative, always engaging, always on the
Mhm.
spaces. And I was talking to him one day, and he said, like, I'm a doctor. I was like, okay, do you like work? And he was like, yeah, I do. And I'm like, no way a person can combine all of this. But when it comes from passion, I think they can. So yeah, thank you so much for sharing this. And I would say this is the final question for today. Can you hint us on what are you working right now? What are some upcoming projects that are coming your way? Maybe some techniques, experimentations with AI.
Yes, for sure. So I'll share a couple. I actually do a lot of goal planning in my Web 2 job. So at the start of 2024, I set my own goals as an artist as well. And I do want to drop another one of one collection. I actually have been painting for this collection since I would say beginning of 2023. Because my Rose Jade Catalyst collection was like mint as I go, it was really just point in time, create something, and I'm going to mint it. So it wasn't like a cohesive collection, Lola. So for this next collection, it's my first attempt at having a certain theme and intention to, create for it. So it's been a long journey. It's been over a year, almost a year and a half, where I've been creating for this collection. So excited to drop that. I am also interested in creating my second children's book. So I actually had published a children's book back in probably 22 called GMGN Darling. And I actually had minted the pages first. I used, I believe, 22 different watercolor paintings, created a book, and then actually minted it, and then I published it. So I went Web3 first, and then I went the old school route of publishing. It's self-published, almost a little bit for fun, but I do have copies of that for my girls. Again, creating for my girls. It's kind of our good night story that I have. So I do want to create my second one. So again, using my artwork as the basis to storytell. I actually might try to stretch myself, Lola, so that I am going to, oh yeah, thank you. That's the cover art for the book. It was basically, if you buy the key or this cover art, you get then the 22 pages airdropped to you, which sounds kind of funny, but I actually do have an on cyber room. That's a storybook room where you can view it. And I have an audio version of me reading it, kind of as an actual reading room of sorts, literally. So yeah, I'm excited to create for this. I think I have a title for that next book. I think I'm going to call it Lost Stars. And again, trying to infuse a little bit of parental advice and encouragement to my daughters, like I write for my daughters, but to leverage my artwork. And I hope to create perhaps an animated version of the book with the help of AI. So I'll have my paintings, I'll have the storyline. And I think I have something in mind where even a mini version of that book or that story in an AI way would be another like great step for me to try to stretch myself.
Thank you so much. I wish you to proceed with all of this, to succeed with all of this. And I just want to say I really enjoyed your energy. It's super calm, super nice and warm. And in general, thank you so much for joining us today, for being super prepared. And thank you so much. If there is any final thought you feel like sharing, just go ahead.
Yes, no, appreciate the chance. Again, having the platform just to speak about your art is really so special. Like I think as for any artist that's able to come on and speak with you, Lola, thank you so much just again for the safe space to just share and think out loud. I'm quite excited just to pursue art. Sometimes it feels very lonely in Web3, but I would say communities like the Omakase show make it so like worth it to stay connected and be inspired by others. So thank you again for the chance.
Thank you so much and have a lovely day. And for our listeners, thank you so much for joining us today. stay tuned, as next week, I think next Tuesday, because next Wednesday I have graduation. We would be having Sasha Styles. Oh wow, I wasn't supposed to tell you the name, but we would be having a language artist, which is basically a little bit like new and an amazing content we can figure out together. Rose, thank you again. Have a lovely day, and I hope to see you around in our community.
Yes. Thanks again. Take care.
Bye.